Hello everybody, my name is Exony, and today I want to talk about an idea I've had to improve casual matchmaking, and it's simply adding a map rotation. Now when I say map rotation, I'm not talking about this message you see whenever you join a server. I'm instead talking about cutting the fat when selecting a map on the casual matchmaking screen. As it stands, we currently have 46 maps spread across the core game modes, payload, capture the flag, etc., with some having more maps than others. My idea is simply cutting it down to 3 or 4 maps per game mode within an arbitrary window of time before those maps get traded out for others that were previously inactive. I think adding a map rotation could solve problems that the matchmaking service has had, the biggest one of these being the long queue times that some players experience. They might experience these because they're only searching for maps that aren't as popular as your 2 forts or turbines, they may only be searching for 1 or 2 maps at a time, or because they live in less populated regions. The inclusion of a map rotation would make more players queue up for the same maps, and with more players queuing for the same pool of maps, the game coordinator would be able to fill up games without having to start 5v5 or drop players into the middle or the end of a game. It would also help those people who only want to queue for 1 or 2 maps in particular by increasing the amount of people who would be searching for it at any given time. However, you would have to face a trade-off here, being able to better find a game when your map is in rotation, but not being able to play it at all when it is inactive. And while we're on the topic of maps, another big thing that the map rotation could help with is getting players on maps that don't often see the light of day. Now let's be honest, some of these maps have been stuck under a rock and forgotten about for good reasons, but others are decent maps that just don't have the popularity of say 2 fort or upward. Rotating maps could bring these maps to light. I wouldn't say a map rotation should just be full of maps people may not enjoy playing. Something like a payload rotation of Thunder Mountain, Gold Rush, and Hoodoo just wouldn't be fun to play on, because it doesn't have the big name maps in that queue. Ideally, there would be a popular map in each game type's pool with some lesser played maps along with it that could give players a familiar map to play on that they would have been on with or without the rotation, or maybe they could queue up for some of the other maps that they may not have played in a while without incurring the risk of long queue times. A system like this could have some problems. Off the top of my head, I could come up with a couple. Things like players not enjoying any of the maps that would be in any given rotation, or maps getting stale after only seeing those maps for so long. These problems could be remedied by keeping an even balance of maps across game modes, making the rotation's duration bearable to those who may not like a map, or even removing maps that no one plays or are just badly designed. I know there are people out there who have been at arms ever since maps such as Koth Sawmill or CP Well were removed from the casual servers, but I think that we can all agree that a map like CP Junction does not need to be in the game anymore. I mean seriously, does anyone even enjoy this map? And there's a lot of older maps that just aren't up to the standard that maps are made with now. Put these alongside maps that are just not touched by the community. While it may step on a lot of people's toes to remove their favorite, least popular map, removing these older, forgotten maps would have a lot of the same effects as adding in a map rotation. The same amount of players spread across less map picks means more people queuing for the same maps. This would be a very heavy-handed approach, but it would seem much more likely that Valve would do something like this than add a rotation. But there are several other things Valve could do to improve quality of life when it comes to casual, without having to moderate a list of maps that's constantly changing. Things like improving TF2's game coordinator to place players into games faster, giving the option of ad hoc connections, which is really the only thing quick play had over casual, or making levels matter so you don't get placed into games with someone who just installed the game when you're level 150. I realize that the last thing is something that could be an issue of not enough players at the higher ranks, but at least make the ranks matter at least a little bit when it comes to the matchmaking. As this is a Valve game though, I'm not gonna hold my breath for any amazing changes anytime soon, but some changes could be nice around now. So what do you think about adding a map rotation into casual? It's something that I like the idea of a lot, but I'd love to hear what you would think about such a system being implemented into TF2. Do you think it's a cool idea? Do you think it just wouldn't work in game? Tell me what you think. And with that, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and peace out.